Hello everyone, Mr. Brian here, and I'm here for your fourth and final of our glider plane science activities for our Tails and Tales summer reading program. Now, as a recap, remember that it takes 4 forces in order for planes and gliders to fly. You need thrust, lift, weight, and drag. And so today we will be talking about the 4th force, which is drag. Drag is the force that slows the plane down. Think that if you're walking in a heavy wind or sliding down a hill, drag is what is slowing us down. You could also say, if you hear about people talk about something that is aerodynamic, that means it cuts through the atmosphere easily, and that helps reduce drag. So the smoother and more aerodynamic something is, the less drag that it has. That's true for cars and trucks, as well as the planes and gliders that we have been working on. So what you should have gotten in your kit today is this nice wooden do-it-yourself plane kit. You can see here it has the pieces and everything. Now, this one being made out of wood, this is one that you can add marker or paint or anything to decorate it before you put it together. Now, I will say that if you choose to color or paint or anything like this, remember from what we were talking about earlier that you want to make sure that your weight is equally distributed in order for your plane to fly the best that it can fly. And so if you add a lot of paint or marker or anything here at the front, we're really thick paint, I don't think the marker will affect it as much. But if you have a lot of paint here on the front part of your plane, but you don't have any on the back part of your plane, that would be something that might cause your plane to be unbalanced, and it might not fly as well as it possibly could. Now, you'll want to make sure that if you do choose to paint or color any of your pieces, that you do that before you assemble your plane. I would also recommend that if you add any sort of color or anything to this, paint or marker, that kind of stuff, that you put some sort of sealant or seal it up. That way, if you are out in the early morning and you're throwing it in the yard and it gets wet because of the dew on the grass, the wetness of the grass won't cause the paint or markers that could rub off on your hands and then get onto your clothing and other things. Now, you also have your instruction sheet here, and it says here, directions. Number 1, decorate the pieces of the airplane before you assemble it. Insert the small airplane wings into the slot on the back end of the airplane. Glue in place to secure. And then we're going to insert the large airplane wing into the slot in the front of the airplane. Glue in place to secure. Allow time for your craft to dry. Now, it also has a note here. Airplane is for crafting and decor only, not intended as a flying toy. That means this is going to be traveling a whole far distance, so we might find that this won't travel as far as our other gliders and things that we have made earlier. Now, you should have hopefully either your bottles of glue or your little glue sticks if you picked up your big craft kit from the library here earlier, or if you have some other glue at home that you want to be able to use. Like maybe you've got a hot glue gun that you could use with a parent or grandparents or guardian's permission or something like that. Just remember, whatever weight and everything that you're adding, try to make sure that you keep things equal. Now, since this is just my example for what we have here today, I am not going to be gluing my pieces together. I'm just doing this so I can show you what the plane is going to look like when it's fully assembled. So, remember, like what we were talking about before, that the curved part of the wing is the part that goes toward the front. The flat side is the part that will be facing toward the back. And that's the same thing with our back wing here. The curved part will be facing the front, the flat part will be facing the back. You can try it the other way if you wanted to see what will happen, that remember that for yours you're going to be gluing it to make sure it doesn't pop out. Now mine is a nice tight fit, but I would, if I was going to use this for anything other than an example, I would make sure that I had my pieces glued together. And I want to make sure too that I try to keep things nice and center. I'm going to try to have the same amount of wing here on both sides. I'm going to do that also here with the front. Okay. Now, here is my assembled example here, and we're going to test it out here in just a minute. Remember, it does say on the directions that this is a airplane is for crafting and decor only, not intended as a flying toy. So we need to not be surprised if this does not fly. Now, the last thing I want to add when we're talking about our 4 forces that help planes and gliders to fly, thrust, lift, weight, and drag. I want to remind you that when these 4 forces work together, this is what causes the plane to fly. Now, lift and weight, they work to help the plane to move up and down. So lift and weight will help your plane to move up and down. Thrust and drag work together to either speed up or slow down the plane. Obviously, the motor and everything has to start, and they have to work up a lot of speed in order to get it lifted off the ground first. And then with the drag, we have to slow things down, so the atmosphere and everything as it comes across the plane, it will help to slow it down so when we need it in order to stop. Now, I will go ahead and add in this point before we go and test out our little example wooden glider here, that make sure you're not throwing this at anyone or anything, especially not anything that is breakable. We want to be very careful with this, and we'll see how this one works against your other gliders. So let's go and give this thing a test. Hello again, everyone. It's Mr. Brian here. I've got my example little wooden glider here, and I'm getting ready to give it a little test fly here in the community room at the Art Circle Public Library. Now, I will put here on the screen the hashtag that we would like you to use to tag. We would love to see what your planes look like when you're finished designing them. Did you add stickers to it? Did you paint it? Did you do it with markers? Did you try crayons? What did you use to decorate your plane? We would certainly love to see your decorations. Now, like we already saw in the directions, it says this is made for crafting and not as a flying toy. So we'll have to wonder, is this going to be more like Buzz Lightyear? Is this going to, instead of fly, is it going to be falling with style? Or is this going to be something that as soon as I toss it, it's just going to take a nosedive and go splat on the carpet? So I'll have this just like with the other ones, a little slightly off camera, and then we'll say in 3, 2, 1, and so you can see that it sort of flew. This was definitely more the falling with style. So we'll demonstrate again here. So a little off camera. So 3, 2, 1. You can see it sort of did a bit of a 360 before it went to land. So as the instructions said, this is definitely not one that is meant really to fly, at least from my experience. This one is the one that out of our planes and gliders, this is the one that had the least successful flight. So I hope you guys have enjoyed making our planes and gliders. I hope that you're enjoying our other activities that we'll be posting up. We've got a couple other fun science things that we're going to be doing, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.